All right, hello everyone. My name is Anders. So I'll be presenting my app. So I developed an app, NavySync. So my paper is called "The Design and Implementation of a Cross-Platform Communication and Administrative Platform for NJROTC Unit Management." So just to give some background. So first of all, what is NJROTC, right? So NJROTC, first of all, it is a club that we offer at our school. So essentially, I developed an app for our club. But NJROTC is actually a nationwide club offered by high schools and universities around the United States, and it is actually sponsored by the United States Navy. So we get a lot of funding in terms of money. So that means we're able to do a lot of events and competitions. So we have drill teams, physical training teams, academics teams, community service events, etc., which essentially help students develop character and improve their community standing. And the main problem with this is that a lot of these units, such as our school, we have a large number of cadets. So at our school, we have 400 cadets, and um, the ranking system, all the teams, all the competitions, we have actually over 150 events the upcoming school year, which is a lot if you think about it. It translates to about one or two on average, one event per 1 or 2 days on average. And that means that we need strong organization and clear communication to function effectively. And obviously, that is very hard to do. And especially in high school terms, when people are also managing their schoolwork, their extracurriculars, their internships, etc. People sometimes get lost in everything and they might not be able to um, fully keep track of the NJROTC events. So, also a few bits of background information on the program at my school. So, it is a large student organization, as I mentioned earlier. So, last year we contributed over 3,000 service hours and we have over 400 cadets. So, um, the biggest issues are daily operations, scheduling, accountability, and making organization critical to the program success. Yeah, so just going back on the issue a little bit, NGRTC units often face communication challenges due to their large size and structured hierarchy. Many programs rely on scattered tools such as group chats, emails, spreadsheets, and paper rosters, which can lead to misinformation, scheduling conflict, and confusion amongst cadets. So I'll just provide a example personally. So in my freshman year, so I just graduated my sophomore year in high school. So last year, my freshman year, when I was just entering this organization, I felt extremely lost because there were so many events going on, and because I had to get adapted to high school also, rather than just focusing on one program, um, I often didn't have the most reliable access to information, and I will honestly miss a lot of events. So there was this community service event that I was really interested to go in because it really I guess it really matched my interest. It was service for a senior house. It wasn't the most populated and it wasn't the most filled event, but if that means that the information about that event has become scarce and I wasn't able to essentially get the information I need, and I actually missed that event, which was actually kind of it put an emotional toll on me at that point because I was also getting used to high school, and by missing events I felt like I was really lost. So I felt like I had to change something. So that's why I developed my app NavySync, which is to help users, which are students like me, and then also teachers, instructors, and parents, to get the information across to students and also um, essentially make sure that people won't get lost trying to find an event that they're genuinely interested in. Um, so that's basically what I said. So I'll show you some sample features inside my app that helps its function. So first of all, it's the learn content. So the learn content is something that is especially needed in JROTC because we have something called advancement tests held every month. So what advancement tests are is that people need to regularly take advancement tests to stay in the program and essentially keep a good academic standing. So there is a study set for these advancement tests, but it's scattered across different Google Docs, Google Slides. There's also some Google Drawings and actually pictures in there. And when I joined as a freshman, I also found this very difficult thing to access because of just how scattered it is. So on my app, I have a learn content page, which essentially combines all these resources into one. Um, it's pretty dumb to do this manually. There are over 50 pages of documents and stuff. So I use AI assistants to organize and present the information in a concise manner. And specifically, I use the Claude AI for summarizing. It actually gave me the results in markup code. So I was able to display the learned content in a user-friendly way while also keeping the text as short as possible without much formatting. So this is that learn feature, what it looks like in the app. So on the left side, it is essentially what you need to memorize or what you need to learn. And then after you feel like you've learned pretty much all your information that you need, you can go to the flashcards button, which is essentially test your knowledge. And at the end, there's a quiz setup feature which you can add sections that you feel like you're either weak in or you want to test yourself in, and it will generate a test based on your mastery level and how many questions you got previously wrong. So let's just say that I'm studying the first section, general orders. There are 11 flashcards in that section, and let's say I got the first three wrong and the rest correct. So the next time I take a general orders test, it's going to prioritize those three questions that I got wrong, and it's going to drill them into my memory so that it's easier for me to learn them. And this essentially ensures that people don't have gaps in their learning, which is often caused by focusing too much on one area and also not having enough, I guess, exposure to other areas, which is how my app solves this problem. In my app is pretty big in general, so I'll also just show you the full app demo. So I'm not going to get into maybe the nitty-gritties of all the hierarchy structure because it is very complex. It is complex enough for me to build an app and resolve it. So I probably won't be able to finish explaining it all in one meeting. Um, but I'll essentially show what my app is doing. So first of all, I'm showing the home page, so the dashboard page here. So on the dashboard, you can see recent announcements, and then you also have some shortcut buttons that you can edit. You can change it to whatever shortcut you like. There are 7 available currently. And then you can see upcoming events and then your teams over here on the right side. So this would be a scroll feature, not a separate tabs. So in this feature, you'll see upcoming events. That means that cadets won't be able to or not won't be able to, but it will be hard for them to miss as everything is displayed in a concise manner. And also your teams is basically all the competition and the service events that people attend. And by grouping them all into easy to understand teams, you begin to realize who you're working with, who you should talk to, who your leadership is. And essentially, it also builds that cohesive bond between our cadets and instructors. And then, so this is the teams page. So I kind of clicked into one of these teams and I'll show you what maybe it looks like on the inside. So on each of these teams, there's a short description on what the team does. So this is a team that I'm in. So Brain Brawl, this is a competition team. So Brain Brawl is a super fast buzzer beater contest similar to what you would see on Jeopardy. Teams of 4 cadets race to answer questions about NJROTC content, pop culture, current events, and a plethora of other topics. And basically, you can see that who's on the team. So up here, you'll see that is me. And down here, you'll see Aaron Lee, which is my commander for that team. So in that sense, it kind of shows me who I need to work with, who I need to talk to for all this information. And then on the right side is just basically what happens when you click out of it. You'll see all your teams listed in alphabetical order. Next, events. So events are probably, I feel like, the most important aspect of this app. I actually have 2 tabs for events. One of them is a list view and the other one is a calendar view. Um, I built this app around events because of that incident I said earlier. I don't want people, cadets like me, to miss events that they're genuinely interested in because these events, they are rewarding and they get you a lot of community exposure, and also if you're in those competition teams, like I mentioned earlier, it gets you a lot of competition um, experience, and it gets you working with a team that builds that bond. So in the events, we have essentially all the upcoming events listed by chronological order, and in the calendar view, it's just a different presentation for that events feature. Instead of being listed in a up to down list, it gets listed in the calendar, which also makes planning much easier. And then what an event looks like on the inside. So I've also simplified events in themselves. So before, events were done mostly on paper. So when we need to check into certain events, we need to do so on a piece of paper, write our names down when we um, entered the event, when we exited the event, so we can get our proper community service hours, and also just keep track of what events we've done so future leadership can use to determine how active you are within the program. But essentially, how I did it was I digitalized this entire process. So instead of checking in on paper, you can now use the app to do a check-in. So there's a scan QR code button here, which enables you to scan a QR code. And actually, every single event, this app generates a QR code and a random six-digit code for cadets to check in. And I feel like this has just improved our unit operations so much. So let me give another example. So this year, actually, at our class of 2026 graduation, our unit had a event. It was called 50 State Flags. And it was basically you had to have 50 students um, salute and essentially pay respect to the state flags during graduation. And doing that on paper check-in, it would take maybe 20, 30 minutes to finish everyone. But by using this app, we got everyone done in less than 3 minutes, which I feel like is a massive improvement. It's like a six times cut in time usage. And it sped up how the event was run dramatically. So on the right is essentially the poster that I was talking about earlier. Okay, and then lastly is just the settings page. So the settings page is, I'd say it's pretty tailored to a JROTC unit. So first of all, you will see what grade you're in, the year of high school you're in, and then your student ID, and then the teams you're on, and then what commander positions you currently hold. And then you can also link to your parents. So I currently have my account linked to my dad as a test account. And later, you can see their settings, the learn and study feature, as I mentioned earlier, the ribbon rack builder. So the ribbon rack builder is also another feature, but I'm not going to explain it in detail. And then browse unit members should be pretty straightforward. It essentially just lists all the members in your program, and you can contact them by email or by phone. So this is just further what the settings page you could do. You can change the theme color, and then you can also change the calendar, the notifications, and then event filters. Anything that helps essentially these students to manage their time and get access to information on whether what notifications you don't want to get, you can all find in settings. There are more settings down, but I'm not going to show everything because it's a pretty long list. And when it comes to experiments, it's quite hard for an app like mine to do a maybe a data analysis experiment because it is more of a management app, and the only ways that I would get feedback is through feedback forms. So that is probably not the best way to evaluate data in, I guess, a numerical sense, because most of the feedback comes in verbal form, and it's very difficult to quantize that information into numbers and basically how much the users enjoy the information provided by the app. So I ran a few different experiments. So these experiments essentially came down to how I tested the app and how the app was developed. So the first experiment was a task-based run-through. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of different organization levels in our unit, and essentially access to information. What information should you have access to? Should you have access to edit this information? Should you have edit access to view this information? Um, Essentially, what access do you have? And there are, I believe, 12 roles in the app currently right now, and it's pretty user intuitive on the front end, but during development, I had to make sure that everyone had the exactly what permissions they had access to. So this task-based walkthrough ensures that everyone has the right permissions. And then the experiment two I ran was the second evaluation. So I transferred from Firebase, which is a Google database provider, to Supabase, which is a third-party database provider. Um, I believe that Supabase was more superior in a sense to Firebase because it used a relationship database rather than just purely storing it in tables. And the Supabase also has PostgreSQL enabled, which allows me to run data migrations easier, while Firebase did not do that. So I believe that Supabase, after my evaluations, was the better choice for my app, and I ultimately decided to switch from Firebase to Supabase within 2 weeks of developing my initial version. So just some statistics of what my app has done. So currently it has over 200 downloads and it's currently serving 6 states, 6 schools in 3 states. So California, Nevada, and actually one school in Pennsylvania. So I I could say that I guess technically my app is coast to coast now. Um, but I feel like it's just shows how much demand there is for this kind of app. So just to give you some statistics, there are over 90,000 students currently involved in this program around the country. And actually, I believe there are schools in 4 other countries around the world as well. Um, but it just shows how this has become a common problem in these big organizations as more students come in and want to participate in these events. And then just kind of a conclusion and limitations and maybe potential for future work. So some limitations is, well, it has not been evaluated through um, a full variety of NJROTC units. Currently, it's mostly been focused on um, units with lots of cadets, with large demand, but we haven't really tested it on smaller units because they're usually harder to contact and they might not need such demand. So we don't have that much data for analysis, and we aren't really sure what to improve, like what features these smaller school want us to implement. And potential future work is making the app available offline. So a lot of these service events, they might be done in places without access to Wi-Fi. And currently, without access to Wi-Fi, you're not able to open the app. Or you are able to open the app, but you're not able to access the information within. So we would like to fix that. And also more polished notification preferences. So currently, it's only essentially how many days before an event you would like to receive a notification, but that kind of becomes very restricting in a sense. So we would like to fix that. And also more automated tests for role-based access control, because I said earlier that there were 12 roles currently, and I also had to do all of these manually, which is a lot of work, right? So I would like to create some sort of automated test, either through AI or machine learning, for the role-based access control. I currently have one in development, but it's not deployed yet. So here are all the tools that I used during my development process. So Flutter, I coded the Flutter just like Aaron did, his app, and then I also used a Dart language. So I used Firebase, and I wasn't able to get a clean Supabase picture, so I just used Firebase for my database. And then oh sorry, and then I coded my software on VS Code, the platform. And then Claude was my main AI assistant. All my code is stored on GitHub. I believe it's a public repository now, so you can able to access it. And then finally, Android Studio. It is where I ran all my emulators. So this app is not available on just Android. It's available on actually both Apple and Android. And I was really happy I was able to get that up to both stores as it would reach more students and it would resolve more problems. I actually have a little video that I prepared. So I would like to show you guys if you don't mind. So this is maybe more essentially it gives you more of a context on how our unit operates and why this app has become increasingly important.
Oh wait, there's no sound from the video.
There's no sound.
Yeah.
There's no sound, sorry.
Yeah, there's no sound.
There's no sound. Okay, should I still play the video or should I just jump to questions? I'm not sure how to dis enable the sound. What
Try
about
it.
what about now? Can you
Hello,
hear
my
it now?
name's Anders Liu, and
Were you able to guys to hear it then?
Yeah, I can
Yep.
hear
Yeah.
it.
hello,
Okay.
my name's Anders Liu, and today I will be presenting my leadership initiative, NavySync. At Troy High School, our NJROTC unit is one of the largest in the nation. Every year, hundreds of cadets dedicate themselves to leadership, competition, and more than 3,000 hours of community service throughout Southern California. But behind every volunteer event, every competition, and every ceremony is an enormous amount of coordination between teachers, students, and parents. When I joined as a freshman, I quickly realized that there was a problem. The biggest obstacle wasn't a lack of opportunities, but us finding out and knowing about them. Important information was scattered across emails, group chats, and word of mouth. And like many new cadets, I often missed events simply because communication wasn't reaching everyone. And that's when I realized something had to change. That solution became NavySync, an app I developed in order to streamline such NJROTC unit operations. Rather than searching through multiple platforms, cadets can now access everything they need from one place: event schedules, volunteer opportunities, competition information, announcements, and attendance. Everything designed around one purpose: helping students participate. But before writing a single line of code, I walked around asking cadets what frustrated them most about our communication system. Many students explained how they were unable to, or it was hard to find information. My design takes in all these concerns and solves them one by one. After developing the first version, I tested it with close friends, created feedback forms, met regularly with student leaders and instructors, and continued refining the app through constant feedback. And actually, the hardest part wasn't building the software. It was introducing something new into a system that had been used for tens of years. Change requires more than technology. It requires trust. By listening carefully, improving the app, and working alongside instructors and student leadership, NavySync gradually became part of our unit's daily operations, taking part in multiple service events, meetings, and even our school's graduation. Today, NavySync has grown far beyond my original vision. It has been downloaded more than 200 times, currently used by 6 schools across 3 states, and additional schools have already requested to adopt the platform. What started as my solution has become a resource shared by hundreds of cadets across multiple schools. Looking ahead, my goal is to expand NavySync throughout Los Angeles County, then across California, and eventually to JROTC programs throughout the whole nation. Every new school means more students connected to opportunities to lead, more volunteers serving their communities, and more young leaders who are empowered to make a difference.
Yeah, so that was basically an overview of why I built this app and the process it took to get there. Most of it was organizational, so I had to essentially prioritize the needs of students rather than just giving them a workable UI, right? So I need to make it so that it's more and most intuitive, as some people obviously they're not the most familiar with technology, and I need to take in everyone's feedback, and that was actually I guess the hardest part, right? Implementing it and making sure that everyone knows how to use it and has access to it. Yeah, so thank you. That's basically my entire presentation. And